Have you been feeling like you are too much in the day-to-day of your business, that you are the technician and you need to step into that leadership role? Then you're going to want to listen to this episode because we're going to give you some tangible strategies to implement right away. And today I have the pleasure of introducing you to Carol Surbey. Hi, Carol.
Hey Diane, how are you today?
Oh, I'm pretty good. I'm
Good.
I'm excited to be able to help entrepreneurs, business owners today with the information that you have to be able to talk about something you've coined Teeter Totter Leadership.
Mhm.
And specifically, we're going to talk about how we can be evolving from a hands-on operator of the business
Mhm.
to a strategic CEO.
Yeah,
So cool. So cool.
super cool. Super
Yeah.
cool. So many
Start off
people need
though,
it.
what was that? People need it?
People need it. Yeah.
Oh, yes. If they can figure this out, they're going to have definitely more business success. And I'm guessing a lot of stress relief because of how it is. But let's first, before we dive into all these amazing questions that I have, that I really want to ask you, please share a little bit more with our listeners about you. Who's Carol?
About me.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Carol Surbey. I've been a business coach in the online space for three years now. I've got my professional coaching certification. And I don't know. I specifically am working with contractors, right? At the or majority of my clients are contractors, not only them. And and contractors are great. They are so great because their reason for being in business, in what I've observed, always parlays back to them being able to support their families. So what
Yeah.
I specialize in is helping these small businesses navigate the complexities of the business world with ease. And it is my goal to really make success simple for them because they're overwhelmed, right? And I want to make sure that we ensure growth and profitability without compromising stability because again,
Mm.
so many of them, it's their families at stake.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And one thing I also just wanted to mention a little bit off topic, but said you're like certified coach. And I think that has to just be mentioned that there are certified coaches and there are self-appointed coaches.
Yes.
There are coaches that went through not only training, but testing and hours. And there is the ICF, International Coaching Federation, who certifies coaches. So just if you're looking for a coach, make sure they are a certified coach, not what I call a Mickey Mouse coach or a weekend warrior that has
And warrior.
become a coach.
I also have a small business system designation as well.
Amazing. Amazing.
Hmm.
Well,
Hmm.
first off, let's just have a quick talk about this term you coined, teeter-totter leadership.
Yeah. Yeah. In talking to my clients, right? So many of them, you've been to a playground. I know you know what I'm talking about. We have those teeter totters and they go, right? And
Yeah.
I just get this vision of these really dynamic, intuitive, capable people standing over the center of the bar. And they've got one foot that's that's constantly going up and down and the other foot that's constantly going up and down, keeping them totally off balance, right?
Mm, mm,
Keeping them
mm.
totally out of one realm, which is the technician, the doer, the hands-on operator, versus the leadership, the person in charge, the CEO, the overseer, the visionary of the business. So I just see them, and so many of them are challenged with how to move that one foot from the one side to the other.
Yeah.
That one foot that's going to help them grow, right? Help
Mm,
them achieve stability, achieve growth, achieve profitability, all of those things. So that's the vision that I have when I talk to these people. And
mm.
I just thought the vision was so appropriate for what they are feeling,
Yeah.
right?
That
Yeah.
unbalance, that which way do I go? So,
Mm.
what do you see as the key challenges that small business owners face? Because I know a lot of my listeners are small business owners.
Yeah.
And the challenges specifically to when they're trying to transition from that hands-on operator to
Mhm.
that strategic CEO?
I see initially, of course, there's more, but initially there's three things.
Okay.
Time,
Hmm.
time, taking control of their own time, looking at it and identifying what tasks are truly theirs to do and what tasks should we not be doing at all? What is just time wasters?
Mhm.
What can be delegated,
Hmm.
right? So really strategically looking at what you do every single day and ask yourself, am I the best person to do this job? Right? If you have a small boutique owner and they've run out of some packing boxes for, their products or materials, are they the best person to run to Staples to get that, refresher box while their $15 an hour employee stays at the store? Probably not, right?
Yes.
But they do it. And they're not necessarily the best person. Number two, a lot of CEOs think that their employees should just know. You should just know how to do that. As CEOs, we are allowed to be very creative in our own business. Our business reflects our vision.
Yeah.
And yeah, when you're looking at a QuickBooks accounting system, right? QuickBooks accounting works the same for everybody. So if you have someone experienced in QuickBooks, they probably know. But
Mm.
what that process is to receive that invoice, to approve that invoice, to get that invoice entered, to get that paid, that's your own creativity.
Yeah.
We're talking accounting, this general guideline, sure, but that's your own creativity, right? And so many CEOs, they really dismiss the need for training.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it is our
Hmm.
responsibility to ensure that our people know how to run the system in the way that we want them to, right?
And if I can add, Carol, I
Sure.
remember specifically the day that my coach told me when I was complaining about a staff member not do it right. They
Uh-huh.
said, the problem if you think that your staff, your employee, whoever you or have hired, isn't doing the job you want them to do, it's your lack of training that caused that.
Mhm.
And it was like a slap in the face. So then I needed to get the help to get them there. So I'm sure that's the piece that you're doing with your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love hearing that you made the decision to invest in coaching because honestly, CEOs, they don't have anybody to talk to,
Yeah.
right? They go home and they try and talk to their spouse, and their spouse is just like, but I got this over here and I got this over here and the kids and right? As a CEO, like who did you have to talk to and who would actually come back to you and tell you the truth, right?
Yeah, it's the broccoli in the teeth. You want to
Yeah.
be told that so that you can go out and look good in front of other people.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Broccoli in the teeth.
Yeah. So tell us
So,
about one.
yeah, yeah. So those are the three things.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Roll through them again. So time,
So time, people
delegate,
just thinking employees should know and making sure that your employees are trained.
trained. Good.
Yeah.
And so listeners, I hope you have written those three down and that you've truly asked yourself the question of how am I doing at these three?
Yeah.
Do I need some improvement here? What's the kind of hard truth I need to be asking myself?
I love that. Great question. What is the hard truth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you won't get the full answer because you're in, as Les Brown says, you're in the frame, so you can't see the picture. Um, but at least you get a first start. So give us some examples of how this type of leadership evolution into that more strategic CEO can
Mhm.
impact a business's growth, a business of stability. Give us some
Right.
examples.
Well, when we have a CEO that is involved in the day-to-day operations, that hands-on operator,
Mm,
right? The business can only grow so big. The
mm,
business can plateau, it can stagnate. Chances are the owner is absolutely exhausted. And even if they're looking at their time, they have no time to actually focus on the longer term strategies of the business, right? So what we need to do is develop a leadership team and start to delegate the tasking that goes with it. One of the biggest things that I see is, CEOs, they gatekeep, and they're their own worst enemy, right? They, as an example, a marketing company puts a bid out on developing a website, right?
Yep.
And the owner says, well, I can't share the budget with my employee who's actually building the website. And I say to them, I say, well, you better at the very least let them know how many hours you allocated, right? And what resources we have the authority to purchase,
Mm.
a Zapier or, a CRM of some sort. And by the way, employee, you have 24 hours that I quoted for you to be able to do this.
Mm.
And then of course the next step is, and this is where the training comes in, does the employee have the guidelines and the outlines on how to create that website within that time frame, right?
Mm.
As CEOs, we quite often we look at our employees and we go, oh, well, they can do it as fast as I can do it, even though they haven't been trained. And the truth of the reality is, and what I'm seeing is our employees can only do about 85% of what we can do. So if we are looking to put our time to a project and we put 100 hours, if it's an employee, we should consider putting 115 hours, if
Mm.
that makes sense.
It does. It
Hmm.
does.
Hmm.
Yeah, and this was another tough lesson I learned from a coach when I was like, why can't they do it? Why can't they do it like I do? And they said, Diane, if they could do it as good as you or as quick as you or at the level as you, they'd be running their own business.
Right.
And I was like, right, right.
And once we start to make these shifts, so we start to train people, we start to empower people with some knowledge around how much can we spend on the project, whether that's in a time duration or actually a cost. I encourage CEOs to share costs, because those team players that we have, they want to know, because this is a growth piece for them, right? Once
Okay.
we have some of these things in place, we can actually start to shift our focus now to the strategic planning, building partnerships, and potentially, if it's within your realm, exporting to new markets, right? When
Mm.
we can start to do that, we empower our team to create clear processes that help to make them more resilient. And, as we can open up to new clients, right, we're looking to really create and establish relationships with those clients that are truly profitable. And
Mm.
in order to do that, we need time, we need space as CEOs, right? Either to um, bring along those relationships, to work
Mm.
on those relationships, or to train our sales staff to develop those relationships in a way that resonates with our business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that the examples of the leadership evolution impacting the business growth and stability is that resilience, the training creates those processes that helps to scale, then moving into bigger markets or internationally, or just expanding your client base because you're able to serve more people.
Yeah.
Those are really great results that come from this shift. But how does the balance between the daily operations and strategic leadership change as a business owner makes this transition?
Right. Well, in the beginning, the business owner, the CEO, he or she is actually the roadblock, right? I call them the broken cog in the system,
Mm.
right?
Yes.
They constantly feel as though every piece of what happens is their responsibility. And to a certain degree, they're not wrong. But as we delegate, as we train, that responsibility of the day-to-day doing now gets transferred to somebody else, and our responsibility remains from that visionary piece, right? As owners and CEOs shift from what I call that top-down authority, you're going to do it my way, and that's it, right? And you should know how that happens, right? When we shift from that top-down authority, what starts to happen is we start to question where we belong in our business. And what my CEOs are starting to realize is they actually belong behind the leaders that they've put in place.
Mm.
So if you can imagine trudging up a hill, hiking up a hill, right? And we hit a tough spot. The managers are in the front and the CEO is in the back pushing, right?
Mm.
This is how we do it. Let me help you.
But that's like heavy,
It's heavy.
pushing from behind.
It's heavy. It's heavy. Or we can look at it from standing shoulder to shoulder. You and your authority in my business are now equal to me. You
Mm.
have your authority and responsibilities. I have my authority and responsibilities. And we can work the business shoulder to shoulder and
Mm.
move forward, right? So many, what I see is so many people resist this transformation into full-on leadership because they
Mm.
don't know what that looks like, what it feels like, what to do, how to behave, how to support, right?
Yeah.
They just don't know how. And so, in their imagination, in their creativity, they get sucked back into that, unhappy client on the phone, and they don't take the time to actually sit down and think about it, to do a retreat, to hire the business coach that will help them just kind of get pushed over that edge,
Yeah.
right?
So
Yeah.
I'm hearing this like the CEO being empowered by the coach and then being able to empower their team to be able to step up into those roles, to
Mhm.
take off some of the burden that is
Yeah.
dropped onto the CEO.
Yeah. And the business naturally starts to become more resilient because we
Mm.
have people within the business that are empowered to make decisions and manage the operations efficiently.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and as we build a resilient business, um, the owner's role now begins to change. A
Mm.
lot of people, they say, I'm going to start my own business so I can take a month off and go to Greece. Yeah, well, for the first 5 years, no, you're lucky if you get Christmas off, right? But making some of these incremental changes will get you there.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
as we were talking before we jumped on the interview, I was just away for 3 weeks, and that was only possible because of my two virtual assistants that are crucial to my business,
Mhm.
because I've been able to pass things off. So the business kept running without me there.
Right? I just had a
Amazing.
client come back from 3 weeks in Greece, and he came back and there was a couple of hiccups. He says, but nothing fell apart. Nothing, nothing bad happened. Couple of little things that are easily managed with a phone
Mm.
call or with a Zoom call. And he was able to go with his family, brand new baby, and his in-laws to Greece for
Wow.
3 weeks.
That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And he's been in business 4.5 years.
Oh, amazing.
Mhm.
So this
So
is
not only,
painting. Go ahead.
sorry, not only does he have the finances to do it, but he has the people in place to support him so that
Yeah.
he can do it.
Yeah. And that feeling that I can go.
I can go.
Yeah. So a lot of the business owner listeners are probably going, okay, well, what do I do? What do I do to get there?
Right.
So can you
Right.
give some practical steps that a small business owner can take to begin shifting from the
Sure.
operational to that strategic leadership role?
Sure. The one that we've talked about already is audit your time.
Hmm.
Sit down and audit your time. Know what you do. I want you to look at it for 5 days. Now, whether after you finish the task, you write it down, or you set an alarm on your phone and go back to it every hour or, twice a day, audit your time And then you look at your time. The acronym is called DESK, DESK, desk.
Okay.
What can I delegate? What can I eliminate? What am I doing that I don't need to do? Right? And how
Yeah.
much time is that wasting?
Hmm.
What needs to be systemized? And what is truly mine to keep?
Hmm.
So what can we delegate, eliminate, systemize, and keep? Okay.
Nice.
From there, quit gatekeeping. Quit gatekeeping. If you have information that is crucial to the successful completion of a project,
Mm-hmm.
share it with your team. Share it.
Yeah.
Again, coming back to the marketing example I gave earlier, right?
Yeah.
If that person sitting in that desk building that website knows that they have 24 hours, they're going to manage their time much differently than if they think they have 30 hours. Right? And the difference between 24 hours and 30 hours at $15 an hour, you do the math,
Yeah.
right? All of a sudden we're cutting into our net profitability on the project and we're not making as much
Mm-hmm.
as we thought we were going to, and that might impact our ability to go to Greece,
True.
right?
It all adds up.
Right. Ensure your team is clear on their roles and responsibilities,
Hmm.
including key performance indicators, KPIs.
Yes.
Key performance indicators. This ultimately is your responsibility, and we are going to measure it by measuring this.
Hmm.
A popular one for a foreman on a job site is team attendance. So all the employees on the job site, making sure that we've got 98% attendance rates. Because if that drops to 95, that adds an extra week to the schedule. When we add an extra week to the schedule, that cuts into my profitability and my reputation,
Yeah.
right? And attendance would be a good one to measure. Now,
Hmm.
KPIs can vary depending on what industry we're in. That's just a really simple example,
Yeah.
right? Let go of dead weight. If you have an employee that isn't pulling their weight, we have to start to look at people from the point of view of, how are they showing up in their personality that they actually want to support what we're trying to build,
Hmm.
which is different than what skills do they have. Now, ideally, we have an employee that has a great personality that's succinct with who we are and what our message is, and they have the skills. Those are the people we want to hire. But if we've hired our sister's boyfriend, who just spent the last 6 months laying on the couch playing Nintendo, he is not in our best interest.
Hmm.
And pull up your big boy pants and get rid of the dead weight,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Have conversations with your team and understand their personal goals,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
And how can you accommodate those personal goals in your business growth plan,
Hmm.
right? I have one client, she was contracting for a company, and the company did podcasts, just like you, right?
Yeah.
And she was actually wanting to take over the podcast, right? And finally had an opportunity to talk to the owner and say, hey, listen, I know you're stressed. I know you got a lot going on. I'd like to take this off your shoulders. And the owner went, hallelujah,
Ah.
right? So
Yes.
that owner wouldn't have known if they didn't have the conversation around what the
Yes.
employee wanted,
Yes.
right? Where does the employee see themselves going,
Hmm.
right? And how can we create that growth plan? And then lastly, stop any action that puts you in between your clients and the appropriate member of the team that is dealing with them.
Hmm.
Okay? Again, that's just being a cog. From some of my contractors' points of view, I have one guy, he says, well, I just want to show up and be the face of the company. I say, stay at home. Because what happens is when the owner shows up to be the face of the company, the client goes to the owner right? And asking the questions and wanting the information. The owner
Mhm.
doesn't know anything about what's going on. You have to go to the person in charge who's
Yes.
been there every day, 8 hours a day to get the project done, right? So get out of your team's way. Don't show up to be the face of the company unless you're going to a networking event where it's actually practical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't put yourself between the client and the person in charge of the project. Stop doing it. Okay. So those are, is that 5 or 6? Audit your time, quit gatekeeping, ensure your team knows their clear roles and responsibilities, let go of dead weight, understand your team's goals, and stop any action that puts you in between your client and who they're dealing with.
Amazing. So it's a good time, listener, for you to think about that list that Carol just said. If you need to hear it again, pause, go back, listen again, and think like, what is the one thing that if I implemented that this week, that
Mhm.
would make a big difference? Start there. And I know, Carol, you brought a gift.
I
Our
did.
my guests are so amazing. They always bring great gifts for all of you listeners. So let us know what it is.
Yeah, so this one is called Reverse Engineering Your Business Goals. It's a worksheet.
Okay.
And the worksheet is about a lot of the things that we've talked about here today. Our goal in 1 year might be to settle into our role as the CEO. Okay.
Mm,
That's where our vision is going. So, how do we work that backwards in a
okay.
way that makes sense for us? Right. So, first of all, we identify the big goal. And then we go through and we identify some of the core business goals that
Mm,
have to be put in place in order to support that, right? And then with those core business goals, what are the milestones?
mm,
Because honestly, if you're looking to be at a different level in your business from a CEO point of view, we're not
mhm.
just gonna, take the one step to get there, right?
No.
And we have 4 quarters, so let's plan through, right? With those quarterly plans, we need to document what actions we feel will support that. And
Mm,
who do we delegate those actions to? Right? Big
yeah.
piece, big
Yeah.
piece. Because again, if we want to be in that leadership role, we have to start showing up as a leader. So in Q1, let's start with some of the smaller stuff, the easier stuff for us to gain the momentum and gain the habits of the
Yeah.
delegation. Okay. And
Awesome.
then how do we track it, right?
Okay.
Identifying strategies, identifying roadblocks, and again, creating the daily, weekly, and monthly actions.
Yeah.
So we block it all out.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So there might be now a point where whoever's listening or on YouTube watching us
Mhm.
is thinking, I don't know about this. So let's give a one final reason. Why is it important for business owners to evolve their leadership style as their business grows? And let us know some of the long-term benefits. If you can give like a quick list and then we'll look to wrap it up.
Yeah. So um some of the reasons why owners might want to shift is they're burnt out. They're
Mm,
tired.
mhm,
The opportunity is either I close this business or I do it better, right? So transitioning to a CEO, a leadership position, allows us to spend more time on
mm,
our long-term goals, like expanding into new markets and improving our overall business strategy, right? The
nice.
impact on growth is that um, we we are able to take on interesting new projects.
Hmm,
I have one client in particular. His goal is to only take on interesting projects.
mm,
And in order to build yourself to that point, you had to start by taking non-interesting projects,
just
right?
to pay the bills.
So him taking interesting project feeds him. It feeds his soul, and he hires based on that. He hires crews that have the capacity to take on these interesting projects, right?
Nice.
Your stability improves. right? Your revenue starts to even out, your profitability starts to even out. It becomes reliable, right?
Mm,
So right now, if you're year 1 to 4 in business, more than 70% of you have gone out of business. And maybe a lot of your listeners, this is, business number 2, 3, or 4 that they're
yeah,
trying, right? So
yeah,
it's about creating stability and, not only in the knowledge base, but and the opportunity to go away, but heaven forbid, what if something happens to you? Right? And you end up unable to work for a few months. Isn't it nice to know that your team has your back, right?
true.
So, as we have these leadership shifts, right, the business has the opportunity now to flourish. We can complete faster projects on a faster timeline. We can expand operations, and we just get a stronger and more engaged team, right?
Mm,
The owner experiences personal relief, potentially avoiding burnout, or at least can heal from burnout and can focus on the bigger picture goals rather than getting stuck in the day-to-day operations. The company achieves growth, remains competitive and resilient, and thanks to the owner just evolving from actually taking the reins and evolving from that hands-on floor
mm,
person to
yeah.
the strategic CEO. So those are all the reasons why.
Awesome. So good. So if the listeners aren't convinced yet, I think you need to re-listen because there are so many benefits. I know that I personally have been able to feel a lot of those benefits by being able to delegate and step back into that CEO role. It wasn't easy in the beginning, but by hiring some help for myself and also hiring coaches to be able to support me through that and teach me how to do it has been
Yeah.
really helpful. So, why don't you give us your final message to everyone who is listening today?
Final message is get out of your own way.
Hmm.
There is a way to do this. It's not necessarily easy. It's not necessarily pretty. And you have to be really honest with yourself. So you got to really want it. But the
Hmm.
benefits at the end to go through, to walk through that fire, the benefits at the end, not only for yourself and your family, but for your employees and their family and
Yeah.
their growth and their stability and your clients, becoming a reliable supplier to your clients. I mean, it's just like I just get this vision of like this soupy milkshake, right? That you just pour out and it just spreads all its sweet loveliness to everybody, right? Why
Yeah.
wouldn't, why wouldn't we all want that?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Carol. So much
Mm.
wisdom here that you have shared. And so to grab Carol's gift, make sure you go to the show notes. You're going to be able to see the link directly there. You're also going to see her bio, website, all the other information that you need to be able to reach out to Carol so that you are not a teeter-totter leader anymore. You get to step
Right?
into strategic leadership style. And also, I can't help but mention if you are looking for someone who can help you online, how about a virtual assistant who can take some of these things that Carol's going to teach you how to delegate? That's part of Virtual Assistant Made Easy. If you would like your own virtual assistant to help you with all the tasks, then please reach out or check the show notes for information about that. Thank you again, Carol, for your time today.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure, Diane. I'm absolutely so happy to be here.
Yay.
So happy to be able to speak to your listeners. And hopefully, it is my hope that they receive something valuable today
I'm
that's
sure.
going to help them make the decision to step up into their own leadership.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And you're going to be able to hear more of Carol's wisdom in Dynamic Women Leadership Secrets book that is coming out in 2025. So if you haven't yet, please hit subscribe, share this with a friend, and until next time, stay dynamic, everyone. Bye.